financial advice version. Man, we got a fucking banger for you today. The first thing that I have to do is send this to several different Twitter group chats. But first, I'm gonna welcome our guest today. We do have an awesome guest for you, Evan. Fucking does a killer morning show, Rise Up morning show. I find it on TikTok. It's become part of my morning routine. I'm sitting on the throne, and this guy pops up on my feed. And he's just so handsome that I can't resist. I can't resist looking at him and listening to all the financial advice that I get from him. And they're talking everything markets, But Evan, how the fuck are you today, brother?
Oh, I'm great, Laura. It's an honor to be here. I can't wait to meet your audience and share some time together. I'm excited to hang with you guys.
Hell yes. Eddie, Britt, how the fuck are you, family?
Things are going. Things are happening on our end. We're tired, but we keep going. We keep pushing. How about you, Laura?
Last week until the event.
I know. Last week until the event. I am stoked. The closer that we get, I get hype about it. Today, getting that news that we got, which we'll talk about in just a second. I've been on cloud nine since then. I can tell you that after that happened, zero fucks at that point were given. I was very much like, you know what, bro, I'm all in on this now. We are finally at the point that I want to be at. Like, I'm like, okay, we're getting closer into the lane that I really enjoy, and I don't know. It made me stoked. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and kill the music here. We got a jam-packed show for you. I do want to start off with an opening clip, but I won't lie. I am still in the DMs, sending this to group after group after group. And I always say this: if you don't like me spamming the show inside your chat, there is an easy solution, a very easy one. All you have to do is kick me out of the chat, because until then, I am going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep ruining your chat, the middle of discussion, and you're going to get a link. You're going to get a link to this show. But let's see here. Can I start off with an opening clip? Wait.
Let's get it.
Wait, stop. I'm messing everything up. I created an agenda, and I'm just absolutely blowing through it. Ladies and gentlemen, now we can talk about it. Yes, dude. The things that we have to promote. Make sure you check out our Monday show. We're going to have a show on Monday that is going to be the last space that we have before Not NFT NYC. So you definitely want to be a part of that. I'd really like to get some activations and speakers and panelists to be a part of that. I think that would be awesome. Just a quick little send off before we go. Shout out Angel. Shout out Taylor. There we go. Angel says, shout out Laura, Eddie, Britt. Angel say, yar. And then we got Taylor. We still don't know if Taylor's a guy or a girl. We recommend, if you ever see that person in public, just do a quick nut check and then let us know what you find.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to them. All right, and so the next thing that we have to cover is Not NFT NYC, going down Thursday, June 26th, in Manhattan at the Producers Club. We got some stellar news, which, by the way, Eddie and Britt already knew, and they had already told me, but it went way over my head. I didn't see it. I didn't notice it. But when we were on a space with Aaron today, he was, joking about who it was that he was going to have during his comedy section, because we have a ton of stuff going on at Not NFT NYC. We're going to be talking about stable coins. We're going to have panels on AI. We have a comedy show. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. We have activations from MetaBetties, who are going to be doing live performances there. We have Board Trading Co. inside the one of the rooms. It's going to have all kinds of merch. We have fucking production taking over the speakeasy. We have a bar that's going to be there. That's going to be awesome. What else am I missing? Because I'm going 100 miles a minute here.
The merch.
Yeah, tons of merch. We're gonna have the merch is covered. Oh, the bags. Brittany secured the bag so hard today. Guys, look, totes are in. I don't know what to tell you. Totes adorable. These totes are gonna bring in the ladies, and I know that because we had our resident lady say, Lord, stop making merch for boys. You're scaring the girls away. get them something that they're going to enjoy, that they're going to want to carry around. We want them walking into other events with our bag. And so she handled the merch perfectly. Shout out to Eddie and Britt, who really did make this year come to life, putting it together. Am I missing anything else? I know I am, because there's just so much going on. Airdrops, check your wallet moments, ton of stuff happening. But the thing that I'm most excited about out of all of that is the fact that on Aaron's Space today, he was talking, and we were joking around, and I was like, what did you get? Did you get Mark Norman to be the comedian this year? And he's like, no, but I did get his podcast mate. And I was like, bullshit. I was like, who did you get, bro? Did you get Joe Rogan? Is this a Protect Our Parks? Are you telling us Rogan is going to be at Not NFT NYC? And he's like, no, actually, it's going to be Joe List. And so for those who don't know Joe List has been on Rogan. He has been on Kill Tony. He has his own podcast, Tuesdays with Stories, the Regs, he's a part of, but it's a big fucking moment. He's directed movies with Louis C.K., but it's a big act to have coming to Not NFT NYC. And I've been riding high after that.
Legendary. It's going to be a good time. And I was just telling Laura, we are more familiar with Dan St. Germain from the Comedy Store on Sunset. So I love when worlds collide, and that's really what Not NFT NYC is all about.
Has any conference ever done that? Like said, you know what, we're going to do some panelists. We're going to give you some entertainment in the middle, a comedy show. There'll be the premiere of Rad TV's metaverse event. And then back to the panelists. So it's going to be, I think Brittany sandwiched this perfectly. It's going to be, the flow is going to be amazing. So I'm excited for all of it. I like that it all forms together. You know, the community comes together, pulls in different resources from, you know, whatever value they can add. And then, Not NFT NYC is born every year. So this is the fourth one. And this year I swear every year we try to get Laura to get a little more serious, and unfortunately, no, I'm just playing. This year we're still on board, and I think that's the panelists are always curated with fun topics and stuff, and I think that's even what inspired me to name this one. Brittany named it, but it would be a stablecoin summer at Bitcoin Beach, and I think that's me and Evan will be on that with Scott Fu. And then I actually have one other guest that I believe that I'm going to add to that panel as well. But
a little Bitcoin fundamentalist.
Yeah, you know, we got to bring it back to like where it all started, you know, like where we all and where it's going to. So it's gonna be a good thing. I'm gonna probably get you guys in a group chat later, but we'll do that on the side. So, but yeah, I'm excited for a lot of different points of it. I think you guys, it always sets up perfectly during that last week. So yeah, 7 days out now, and it's gonna be fun.
Hell yeah, bro. Reminder, like, comment, share the stream wherever you're sharing your streams. Cross streams with your friends. You know what I'm saying? Do that, and then also make sure you check out tickets to Not NFT NYC. They're somewhere. They're on one of our profiles. You can't miss it. It should be all over your timeline by now. Listen, you guys are throwing educational questions at me right now. I promise you, we're gonna get to it. I know you guys are thirsty to learn about Robinhood and stuff like that, but I do have to start out with an opening clip. See, here's the thing. Eddie and Britt are geniuses. They hold my passwords to everything. They hold my seed phrase. Eddie is eventually going to have access to all of my bank accounts. There'll be nothing in them, but I trust him that much to be able to handle on that. But this is the Lord view. This is the way that I view finance. And so I just thought it'd be a good way to open the show.
Advice to people is if you got $500 in your bank account, go buy a Burberry t-shirt. It's the best. Like, go spend your money crazy, because it's way easier to make more money than it is to pinch pennies, and its memories are priceless. I'll never regret going broke, but I got to go on a crazy vacation with my friends, or did this and that. Driving your dream car at a young age is a very special, spectacular experience. So like, take out that loan, buy your dream car, because do you really think you're never gonna make money ever again?
That's right. Do you really think you're never going to make money again? This is something that Britt had brought up last time, talking about her friend that's going to college, has all kinds of nice cars. Like, well, I just get them from loans for my business. And I was like, you know what? What am I thinking? I need to use this LLC to my advantage. I got to start applying for these business loans and just put it all in Bitcoin and pay it down little by little by little. But that's what I'm thinking.
that show right there is the why this show is called Not Financial Advice.
Yeah,
Because
that part.
absolutely not. Have that mentality for a few years in your 20s, but no, don't we say this every day. Don't allow consumption culture to pull you away from financial independence. Don't do it.
Let me tell you though. Let me tell you that that thing makes me
We're
cringe.
spoiled children that just sit around all day.
Dude, that's a text from my daughter. That is her ringtone. I apologize. I'm hooked up to Bluetooth right now. My apologies for that.
I was like, what am I hearing? Is this a new drop? I thought you just hit a new.
So she said that one time, and I recorded it, and then I put it on as her when she texts me. That's the sound that pops up.
That's so funny.
Evan, how do you feel about that clip?
Evan's got my back. I know it.
You know, I don't own any Burberry shirts myself, and I do tend to believe that money can't buy happiness, but I have heard it can buy you a yacht big enough to pull right up alongside it.
Yeah.
Yo, the abundance mentality does work. I do agree with that. It's like, do you really think you're not going to get money again? But also, I also think of this other thing, and I think a lot of good investors, this is one of their only regrets is that they didn't start earlier, right? So when I think about it, I'm like, man, you know what I could have spent that on instead and like compounded to right now? And I like, that's where I really think. It's like, I don't think that money's not coming to me again. I just think of how I'm applying the time to that money.
It's painful when you think of that $4,000 bag you bought, and then it's like, oh man, the compounding interest that could have done, even just putting it in the market. What a fumble.
Yeah, I'd love to have the money back that I had spent on cigarettes, not because that would be life-changing money, but that put into Bitcoin from the time I had started smoking would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of opportunity costs like that too, I would say. Laura, you had something?
No, I was listening. So I mean, cigarettes. The cigarettes is your thing. Are you still smoking?
I am working on quitting, and I am intermittently successful, but I am working on it, and I have no doubt I'll do it. It really is about motivating yourself to want to, finding all kinds of reasons to want to, because there's a gas station on every corner, and the problem is not, do I have $10 in my pocket? The problem is, what do I want more than this right now?
Holy shit!
You
Here
know?
we go
There's
again. My
spoiled
apologies.
children
My
that just sit around all day.
You can just you can hit that mute button on the side.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. Here's what I'm gonna say though. I would actually prefer it if you don't quit smoking. For the better good of the human race. Just hear me out on this. We need hardcore MFers out there in the world that can teach people about the analog place we used to live in, where you had to pull tobacco out from the ground, roll it up, use a Zippo lighter to get it lit. It just means hard. I'm over here like a little wimp with my vape. No, I disagree. I want you to keep smoking, just to keep the edge of America. And
let's bring this back. Bring this back to stocks. Bring this back to stocks, though. I always wondered how these dividend companies really pay out from the tobacco thing. I didn't know people were still smoking cigarettes. But Evan, I bet you he's smoking the healthy ones. And let me guess, American Spirits. This guy.
How'd you know? Yeah, American Spirit Yellow. They're not more healthy, but they make me feel better about myself. They actually do last longer than other cigarettes I've smoked. I will tell you, if you smoke a Marlboro or like a Newport, Newports were what I smoked, and then I tried an American Spirit, and it took me like twice as long to finish. I was like, oh, dude. And so I smoke less of them, and it's like this cognitive dissonance thing, you know.
I love it.
Do you invest in any of the tobacco companies at all?
No. And if I had all the liquidity in the world, I still probably wouldn't, mostly because I feel like I know other companies better. And so it'd be a smarter investment for me, but also like, I'm not really aligned, even though I'm a smoker and I support them with my, like the ritual of my life. I'm not
right.
I would
You're
rather
still not investing. Yeah. I mean, I think, I'm pretty sure some of my dividend stocks hold it, but, Brittany brought up something about, healthy tobacco recently. And I was like, and a lot of the people, I think, Tucker Carlson was on like the All In podcast and stuff talking about healthy tobacco. And did you want to add something on that? Because that
tobacco or nicotine?
Okay, well, we were talking about how everybody in Asia can smoke until their 90s, 100s, and it's not a problem, even though cigarettes are extremely unregulated over there. Extremely unregulated. That's why they taste like strawberry and candy, and it's crazy. But the stuff that is killing people in America is the additives from what they're spraying on the tobacco. So tobacco is actually really good for you. It delays Alzheimer's. It helps with dementia. There's so many reasons why it's a plus to actually smoke straight tobacco. But once you get into the cigarettes and the, you know, the kind of chemicals that they're doing and all of the flavors and all that stuff, that's where the cancer is. And that's what people are dying from.
And it's funny, but if you listen to the All In podcast, Tucker Carlson does go into a little bit about just like how it makes him feel as far as like it's like focused, but like alert and calm. And I was like, you know what, bro, I might even
pop a Zyn.
I might pop a Zyn, bro. I was like, yo, but still, I really just like to look at the companies and the stocks that are profiting from some of that stuff. So
sure, makes sense.
And I'm so sorry, dude. You've been with us for 20 minutes. It's been a beautiful, awesome hang. I didn't even properly introduce you. I'd love it if you just gave a moment to let folks know who you are, how badass you are, how amazing your show is. Just give us a little insight of who you are, and thank you for being a part of this madness.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. And to everybody listening now or in the future, hello. It's nice to meet you. My name is Evan. You know crypto, but you probably don't trust crypto. And companies like Coinbase or Circle are making headlines. They're some of the most profitable companies on earth, but a lot of people who hear about crypto for the first time heard about it when FTX collapsed, or they heard about Bitcoin for the first time when drugs were found and hordes of cash were seized and cryptocurrency was taken by the FBI from criminals, and when Elizabeth Warren talks about how they use it to launder money on TV. And so we have a terrible PR problem. We tell a bad story. The truth is that crypto is one of the most transformational technologies ever invented. It's totally novel and will affect pretty much every part of your life and will do so much more than money, the way that your smartphone does so much more than calls. And I work with my colleagues at Rise Up Media to help everyday people through live broadcasts and other resources like this come into touch with a better story about crypto, to help them understand what blockchain actually is, why it might matter to them personally, and then we show them how to use it safely, confidently in the context of a community. You know, we use that word a lot in crypto, community, and mostly it just means the people who are going to buy your token. But we say it to mean a group of people from all walks of life, all around the world, at all levels of experience, who will ask each other questions, share what they know, and help each other, we say, rise up.
Look at that. Look at the brilliance of this, man. I love it. And congratulations, by the way. I heard you guys talking about it this morning. You just got sponsored by Polygon. Right. What is that going to entail? Again, congratulations on that. What does that mean for you guys? How will you kind of be talking about that or integrating it? Let us know a little bit more about that.
Well, it means, first of all, they send me a cool pink shirt like this to wear on streams and when I'm walking around town. But it also means that they are trusting us to help them tell a better story. The truth is, most crypto companies, they're talking to each other over on crypto Twitter. And our audience is on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And they're mostly 40 and over. And we have a pretty even mix of men and women. So it's a lot of the people that our crypto colleagues would refer to as the next billion users. And we reach many. We reach 40,000 people a week, and we reach millions more with recorded content. So what they're really doing is they're partnering with us to come on our platform and integrate with our ecosystem, not to do commercials for them, but to learn their products, learn their story, and then help the people that trust us understand how to use the kind of things they've built. When would a Polygon solution be right for me? You know, for example, we had Aishwari Gupta, who is the head of exchanges, payments, and real-world assets there. He told us that 42% of micro payments in USDC are settled on Polygon's network. We had the folks from Katana on the show recently to talk about the DeFi chain that they're launching, what makes it different than stuff that's come before, how people can participate. And we don't just like shill them, tell people to buy their token. I try not to say anything that requires me to say not financial advice, but we use their tools as a way to teach people the kinds of skills they're going to need all the time in crypto: bridging, custodying their own assets, swapping in and out of different kinds of tokens, participating in an airdrop or something like that. And then we help them become familiar with our friends who work at Polygon, which is the oldest layer too. So they're legit. They're a legit company. And then, you know, just do more things, make more content with them that will help them tell what we say is that better story, and I'm really excited about it. We're actually going with another company, Aptos, to permissionless, and I hope that we can build the kind of platform where like two competing companies could sponsor the show, and it would be more valuable for them because we could tell our audience, they would trust us enough to say, hey, if you're this kind of user, maybe you want this product, but not this one. If you're this kind of user, maybe you want this one. Maybe you don't want either of them. I asked the CEO, not the CEO, one of the co-founders of Arculus the other day, if you couldn't pick Arculus, what would your top 5 cold storage wallets be? And because he gave an answer, people were willing to trust him more than if I just said, and Arculus is the best cold storage wallet. You can get it now for $10. You know what I mean? Crypto needs that. So that's what we're trying to do with our partners.
Beautiful. And I think go ahead, Eddie.
No, I was just gonna say that transparency is exactly what crypto is all about. So it's like it fits right in with the culture. I'm tired of people. I mean, it sucks, but even some of the best products like ETFs and stuff like that, they have some of their flaws. But one of the things I've seen is like a Bitcoin treasury. It's like if you're not showing proof of reserves or anything, it's like it goes against crypto culture. It's like it doesn't matter what we're talking about. It's like the whole point of it is the transparency, immutability, and so forth. So yeah, I love that. I love that you guys are leaning into that aspect of advertising or even just content creation. That's a different way to look at it, but it's something that the crypto probably needs more.
Well, and it's so important right now because a lot of companies are entering our space that are using words like stablecoin or blockchain, but what they're going to give consumers is not really decentralized, is not really self-custody. And so we have to educate people to help them understand like what this is, how to use it, what the benefits of it are, so they can recognize that when they're using a stablecoin at Amazon or Walmart, that it may not really be on chain, that they may be taking a big cut, and that they may have more freedom or utility by learning to use USDT or Tether or taking custody of their assets some other way.
Oh yeah, and I think that's a perfect segue into one of our topics tonight. And so I'd love to get you guys' take on this clip, as well as kind of get how you think it will affect stocks or the overall market as a whole. So give me just a second while I pull that up. Let me see what we have here. Series 7. Here we go, and then we'll just open that bad boy.
Yes, it's true. Tether now owns more U.S. debt than Germany. Hey, it's Professor Chris with Beacon. And Tether's been buying up U.S. treasuries for quite some time now. And yes, they do officially own more U.S. debt than Germany. Deutschland comes second to Tether today, baby. Now, according to CEO Paulo Arduino, who was speaking at the Bitcoin 2025 conference in Las Vegas, where I was there, he did say in his speech, Tether now owns more than 120 billion in U.S. treasuries. Now, they're way far off from the top, which is Japan, which holds more than $1 trillion in U.S. treasuries. But, I mean, that puts them top 20 in the world. Tether, not a world country. But they're actually on the heels of South Korea and Saudi Arabia with regards to the amount of holdings that they do have. Now, for what it's worth, not only do they own U.S. debt, they also own multiple tons of gold and a lot.
All right, so I just wanted to get, I'm cutting it off right there just to save time. But Eddie, Britt, you guys are big on stable coins. You've been talking about it for a long time. We talk a lot about debt and how global economies have affected. What effect does that have? Tether owning more debt, U.S. debt than Germany have on the overall market?
I think it's
what
consequences
could there be?
I mean, they are owning the debt of Saudi Arabia. That's absolutely absurd. They have. I was just reading. They had more GDP, more money than GDP of most countries in Africa right now. And I was just like, wait, what? How does this even make sense that they're running so quickly? But I don't know. It's scary. It's scary, but also it's like, this is the time to invest. These are going to be the people trailblazing. These are going to be the companies that you want to get with early. This is when money is made. It's an exciting time.
Interesting. Yeah. Go for it, Eddie.
Yeah. This transition is getting crazy, but I think the adoption of stable coins and specifically even just USDT, I would assume is from a lot of currencies experiencing inflation. You got Turkey, Nigeria experiencing inflation. In US, we don't understand what that is. We don't understand what that looks like when you're getting debased at 60% a year on your dollar. So it's really tough. And I think once we start catching on how much, I guess what I'm trying to say is that globally they're going to basically understand stable coins way more than Americans at this point, because we don't have a problem getting access to dollars. That's our normal settlement layer. For other people, it is definitely an advantage for them to try to save or even hold their value of their money in US dollars. So yeah, that's my opinion. I mean, imagine being at an inflation rate of over 50%. Like, that is just insane. And what we're doing right now, and we're printing money, we don't have a backing. It's a problem. So shout out digital right here. What's good, bro?
Evan, your take. What's your take on this?
You know, we had William Quigley, who's one of the co-founders of Tether, on the show last week, and we've had him a couple times. He's a good friend, and he is a wealth of knowledge. You know, when the co-founder of Tether talks about stablecoins, you got to listen. And one of the points he made about all these stablecoins we're seeing lately that are offering yield, this and that, he said, you know, I just don't think most of the world is that concerned about earning a couple extra percent. Like you said, brother, they are concerned about having a store of value that is like easy to use in the everyday world. More than any other stablecoin, everything settles to Tether. It is easy to turn your currency into Tether and hold value in it that you can turn back into cash or just send digitally to somebody pretty much instantly anywhere in the world, as long as you have an internet connection. And he made the remark, he said, go ahead.
You don't believe yielding stables will be the onboarding event that the masses are waiting for?
I am not saying that. I just am saying I don't think it's as big of a deal to most people around the world as having a stable currency that they can transact in day to day will be. That alone will allow stablecoins to reach a market cap of trillions of dollars by themselves. I do think that yield will be interesting, but I think from now to yield, a lot of companies who do stablecoins won't want to offer yield to part with it. I think there's a probable future that some enterprising company decides, you know what, let's disrupt the system. Let's offer people a meaningful yield, and they will gain market share, a truly decentralized stablecoin. But I don't think that's the short or medium term thing that's going to bring.
I believe that's what Paxos is trying to do with the US dollar global network, where it's not just a yielding stable. You get paid basically to build the network, grow the network, transact on the network. Kind of like as if you were building an LLM, giving your data, but you're getting paid for it for doing your part of building.
You know,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know Paxos terribly well. I knew they offered USDP and that there was like a similar yield bearing token model. So please tell me more.
They partnered with Kraken, MakerDAO, Robinhood, Arbitrum, just so many of the trailblazers that have been here since 2010. So I feel like with all of this synergy together, I think that could really, really do something for stables.
Yeah, I did hear that, that yielding won't be the big onboarding experience that everyone thinks. But it is definitely an interesting product, and I think a lot of crypto native people might want to like settle to a yield bearing stable instead of like a regular stable. But yeah, you're right, Evan. People will like. It seems that the stable coin companies, especially Circle, shout out to Digital. I know he got in on the IPO. He rode that all the way up for sure to. It's over 200 now.
I'm still holding my last few shares.
Yeah. So, and Circle has been very generous on their business model. They're giving out a lot of their revenue back to Coinbase. They also did buy a yields coin. I think it's like USYC or something from Hashnote in January. And so that's only for institutional investors, but it's backed by the money market accounts. And so I do see that like there is some gatekeeping there. That where like we should have access to it, but it's like, where are they going to really generate money from if not from, treasuries, short-term treasuries, money market funds, whatever their reserves are? Like that's still kind of the revenue side, but it seems like the stable coins are starting to just like, well, let's race to zero type of market and just go for adoption. Like forget everything else. It just seems like there's a race for adoption, and obviously USDT has a major lead.
Yeah, they have like a huge, they have many times Paxos market share and even several times USDCs, and they're global. They're not compliant in the US. Paxos, USDC have some more like doors opened for them, but it's a pretty open battlefield. And I would say they're all generating yield mostly from like treasury. They own debt. But it's going to be a real interesting race. And I think there's a lot of room for somebody to do something innovative, but the people who are out in front are a long way out in front.
I know we
Evan,
say a lot.
I have one more question. I'm just curious, if the US dollar does not remain the global reserve, how do you think that this changes our current race with stablecoins?
I think if the US dollar doesn't remain the global reserve, frankly, that we probably will have bigger problems that cause that. Like, what's going to happen? Is Russia going to take over militaristically? Is China going to do something that, are we going to implode somehow? In which case, people will be more worried about how am I going to get groceries this week than what's happening with my stable coin. And the dollar, I mean, I think that's a future scenario we'll have to deal with. The dollar right now is the global liquidity king, though. Most stablecoins are USD pegged, and dollar dominance is stablecoin dominance, because at least right now, the most prominent stablecoins are just digital wrappers for dollars. And in most countries, like you pointed out, with a high inflation rate or whatever, it's the dollar. I could see it being a shift towards multi-currency more than like one specific winner. Maybe region-specific stable coins dominate in their local markets, and maybe someone like Paxos could jump on that, or someone like Swarm, who offers a compliant product in Europe, could jump on that market. And maybe what I would hope for is like neutral assets as a new digital reserve. Like, if global trust in fiat money weakens across the board, then something more like Bitcoin or Ethereum that is truly decentralized, not owned by a government or entity, could become a reserve settlement layer. Maybe not something so volatile. But I think that would be like the ultimate ideal outcome, is if we could shift away from a reliance on not just like fiat, but government fiat to something truly decentralized would be what I would hope for.
I think that a lot of people we talk about in Web3 that like, oh, it's going to be great when retail gets here. And I think as a general rule, people think retail are the buyers. They're like me and you who are buying the coin. I'm looking at the opposite end of that. And I think that retail is going to be the people, the businesses who accept it, who will accept USDT as payment. And I think that it will create trust amongst everyday users who are like, this doesn't fluctuate the way crypto does. It stays at this price, it stays at $1, and I can go to the store and I can spend this just like I could spend $1. And I think when we get to a point where more businesses or companies are accepting it as legal tender, that's when we're going to start seeing like more shift in the idea and thought of Web3 as a whole.
Yeah.
I think Robinhood has even said in some of their earnings calls that they do settlements on the weekends with stable coins. And so if you're doing that, and for those that don't know, you can trade like on Sundays starting at like 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so you can get news on a Saturday or early on a Sunday and make moves before the institutions do Monday through Friday. Also, you know, when the clock, our market closes at about 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is really early and nice. But you can get in anytime throughout the night, Monday through Friday, right? So, and that's 24-hour markets. They're able to do these settlements with stable coins on Sundays and such. And I think that being, you know, pulled out and zoomed out for everybody is going to be just a way, like anyone who's had any logistic constraints on 3 days, 4 days waiting for money, like that's going to be 0 days now. 0 day settlement
time will be changing that. That's also how they are allowed, or they're able to provide fractional shares, is through blockchain technology stable. So that's pretty like tokenizing everything. That's just what's going to happen. And I'm excited for that. But yeah, I think it's going to change the financial institutions, absolutely. But do you think that commodities fractionalized or stablecoins backed by commodity like gold or silver or gas or oil, do you think that can have a big play soon?
I think there are a lot of people working on it. Like, I was at Consensus a couple of weeks ago in Toronto, and if I spit in any direction, I was going to hit somebody who was trying to bring a new type of asset on chain, creating a new way to verify, especially physical things. That's kind of the holdup right now. It's very hard for a physical thing like a car title or the deed to a mansion to create a token for it and link it to that physical thing without relying on some intermediary that you have to trust. But a lot of people are working on that. They're working on stable coins because they want to bring new liquidity into crypto. But I don't know. I think everything probably will be tokenized to some extent when we figure that out. I don't necessarily think we need to tokenize things in the interim until we solve those kind of problems, because otherwise, again, it's just going to be Amazon will say, well, hey, let me hold your gold for you. Here's my Amazon gold token. Thanks so much. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things are not the solutions we're interested in. And I still think we have a long way to go. There are people doing promising work, but I don't think we're quite there yet. Give it another year.
I like that. Those are not the solutions we're interested in.
Yeah, these are not the solutions we are looking for.
So I'd love to get, so I want to jump into this next topic because I heard about it and I don't fully understand it. And when I don't fully understand things, I like to bring them here for Eddie and Britt to help sort out for me. What is this and why is it such a big deal?
IPO, is it in the cards?
Yes, I mean, we've talked about it a number of times, but to get a little more detail today, we are definitely going to be a publicly traded company. We are running this company to be the shape of a publicly traded company. I don't think that there's really a path to a company like Anduril winning things in the shape of, let's say, a $1 trillion F-35 Joint Strike Fighter contract as a private company. It just doesn't seem to be the thing that can be done. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We could have a whole show just about why that is, why private companies are probably not going to scale to the scale that Anduril wants to scale to. But it is definitely on our roadmap.
All right, what is this? Why is this such a big
I want to say, before Eddie takes it away and kills it, I want to say shout out to him for his comeback arc. I mean, people really tried to cancel this guy.
There's lore.
So much drama with the billionaires. You know how it is.
What happened? Because all I know about Palmer Luckey is that he was the founder of Oculus. I've heard he's got some controversy, but like, can you read me in?
Take me through this.
He's been bullied out here in these billionaire streets.
Tell him. He was basically pro-Trump when nobody was pro-Trump, and so people like kind of kicked him out of Facebook, right? Like at Meta. So Oculus obviously owns Meta, so Mark Zuckerberg and Squad kicked him out, right? And he was left. Yeah, it was very public, and it was a bad lashing, and it was just like, you didn't vote for who we vote for, and you don't support who we. I guess it was very public. He like donated some money to the MAGA campaign, and Lucy. So basically this led to him getting invited. He was always getting kind of like talked about on these podcasts. All In podcast comes up again for the second time on the show, and he was being talked about by Jason, and so he got invited to their summit. Their summit is like the biggest summit going on for investors, right? And he went on there and basically gave it to them at their public summit to the guy who hosts the summit. And was like, I was treated like this, and it's great that Anduril is back on top. And so the guy who made Oculus now makes the software and weapons defense for America. And it's
mind you, this is now Trump's second term where Jason Sachs, the guy on the show, is the crypto czar on Trump's team. And then Chamath and Freeberg are always Chamath and Schubert Freeberg are always going to the White House doing all of the press briefings. So it's like now everybody is on Trump's team. All the billionaires are.
And so he's vindicated.
Yeah, he's vindicated. And it's like he said that put him like not on suicide risk, but basically it really took a turn for his mental health. And
he's like, people kicked him while he was down. You need to go watch that. He has a whole speech that's very popular on YouTube.
Like he dropped the mic.
Bro, it was a mic dropper. Like to do it to them at their show. He was like, all right, I'll take your invite, and I'm gonna tell you guys what it is. So that's a little bit of the lore behind that. And to see and so where this takes us now is like he built another great company, right? And he is able to now go into the public markets. And I mean, this is a great time for him, and it's there's multiple reasons, but like, and sadly, one of the reasons is look around, so much war going on. the best thing for that is the increase of contracts and military contracts and defense contracts. And that's where his company will succeed. But we look at recent companies that have like really, really blown people out of the water, like Palantir. This is where
blown them out of the water.
Yeah. And so Palantir is on a run. And so they've been able to tap into this patriot liquidity. And it's like people who support it. It's weird because it's the co-founders, some are Democrats, some are Republicans. So they're very just American, like just to say I want to say they're in the middle, you know, where like most of America is not far left or far right. We're like, most of us are in the middle. And that's what makes this company kind of great, because if he can reach the liquidity and valuation that Palantir has had and even more, I think people are just so excited for these types of stocks right now. It's sad that wartime stocks are great, but you know,
gotta stay ready so you don't gotta get ready.
And somebody's gonna profit. And it is. I remember back in the day they used to like raise bonds and stuff, like when people were going to war, and like you would buy the debt of your country so that they can finance their war and win a battle. Like it was very patriotic. And that's kind of what these companies have now taken place. We're not buying bonds to support our country anymore. The people who have money are supporting these. And then not only that, they're lobbying in the government to get them more contracts here. It's just, it gets big, man. It's like a bigger web. But
if you feel like you missed the run on Palantir, you didn't get in early, this is your Palantir. I'm saying this is it. And I hope they don't go public for a few months, because Robinhood put me in timeout for 60 days for flipping my Circle IPO. So I don't get IPO access for 60 days. So I hope that takes a little bit of time. But yeah, I'll be ready.
Yeah, Anduril's a big deal. I know more about Anduril than I do about Palmer Luckey. And what you said about us being in the middle, I don't know that they necessarily represent us, but I would say this is definitely signaling a cultural shift that like Silicon Valley is back in the war room, because for years, you know, tech was very hesitant to work with the military. Google got a lot of backlash over Project Maven, and now we've got Coinbase sponsoring a military parade. Anduril's totally going in the direction that you know that they think technology is a key part of democracy, specifically defense technology. And I think it's interesting. My understanding is that they're like a software first startup, and they are a startup. They build like a startup. So in my mind, they've got a lot of upside potential here. You know, if you're building an AI powered military system, warfare in the future is not going to be about like, where do I aim and shoot? And how do I defend against an AI adversary who can not only aim at where I'm standing with more precision than a human, but aim at the 50 places I'm likely to go and fire a bullet there? Like, we need solutions for that so people don't die in warfare. And
is it scary that the gamers and the guys who created Oculus and stuff are now in the actual shooting world, and they're like, oh, all these skills that I've acquired my entire life that my mom said was never going to help me, now it's coming to fruition, where these guys are flying drones. These guys are the ones operating from miles away on a screen that they're used to with, you know, they're upgrading their stuff to, like you said, they operate like a startup. It's like a contract comes to develop a vehicle with some sort of technology or whatever product, and they literally just form like Voltron, create 5 of them. Do you want, like, is this what you want? Okay, let's deliver more and batch them out. And then it's like done. It's like, let's move on to the next problem that needs to be solved. So it's just scary, right? Like these kids are like grown now. Oh man.
It's absolutely wild.
So beautiful. So everybody buying that, or what's happening? Are we supporting war? What are we going?
I'll definitely be buying. But I did want to touch on that, Evan. Howard Lutnick, he said like I think the reason why this is happening is because software is our #1 export. Like that's what America is good at. We're not really the best at maybe making cars, making clothes, but software is what we're good at because of so much brain drain that comes to America. So Howard has been doing Lutnick has been doing a lot of these contracts and a lot of these talks with these CEOs to get them to work together for the country. So there's a lot of synergy that's going on. Like our government is finally sourcing talent from these companies that are providing GDP for America.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, 100%. What's your question about it? I agree.
No, I was just saying, I love that you said that because things are, it should have been this way, I think, for many terms, but I love that it's happening now. And we get to see, this is what happens when you have great companies and you have a government that is listening. And it's just the synergy together. I love that we're making use of it. And we've seen so many companies be able to go to go public because of the regulation that, the regulatory clarity that we're getting with stables and banking and so much happening, that we have a framework to work within. And now things can happen because of that.
Yeah, 100. That's beautifully said. Beautifully said.
I love it, and it makes me want to jump into the next topic. Since you may have missed Palantir, but they're still in the news, and I want to get you guys' reaction. Go ahead.
So Palantir, this is funny because I know there's a couple people that I know were in Palantir early. I mean, we bought Palantir at like 16, sold it at like 49, thought we were like really tight. And we sold after like some of the CEOs that had unloaded a lot of billions of shares too. So we were like, oh, this is going to be great. Easy. We'll get back in on a dip. Never dipped ever again. But just wanted to say the Palantir media, like that news headline is growing more and more. And we've seen it from like first it was like, if you use Palantir, you're going to attract this cult following to your audience, right? Like all these people are going to show up to hear what you have to say about it. You can even tweet something bad on X and you would get so much reactions to it. And now I feel like the media, traditional media, has now caught up to that narrative, and they're going, okay, well, let's use Palantir and figure out these negative things to say. So a recent article actually came out, even in the New York Post, and it was like a bunch of fabricated stuff, I would say, like very, very low research from the journalist. And Palantir responded back very quickly. It was signed. It was a letter that included some representatives you guys might know, like AOC and Warren, Elizabeth Warren. And so these people signed a letter saying Palantir is stealing data from Americans. So with that preface, I just want to say, like, there was no evidence or anything ever shown that Palantir was stealing data from us. And in actuality, if you followed the company, they are very patriotic, and they like don't even give their software to like other nations or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they stay within their bounds, and they make sure that like they're only kind of controlled by American powers. And so I do respect that, and they've done a lot of influence for American military and in replace of troops. So just all of that has to be prefaced because people are listening to Palantir and they're like, this is the Patriot Act, and they're listening on your phone calls and stuff. So I just like,
but Palantir was created because of the Patriot Act. So they are actually like the protectors of the American citizens' privacy. So I would say go that way. If you do your research, if you know.
Well, then you're either going to love this next clip or you're going to fucking hate it. And I can't wait to get your take on it. So I'm excited about that part. Let's see what we got here. We did that. Okay, here we go. Give me a second.
You cheered for it. You stood in the middle of a live surveillance drill and called it justice. This wasn't resistance. This was system calibration in real time. While you chanted no kings, Palantir was running facial recognition at scale. Dataminer was logging emotional volatility like stock price movement. Accenture was already drafting proposals for international clients. This wasn't a protest, it was a behavioral field test. The oligarchy didn't stop you, they tracked you. And now that training data is off to market. Israel gets the crowd suppression playbook. India gets the sentiment scoring API. Brazil gets your movement patterns for predictive arrests. You didn't topple power, you helped sassify state control. They sold you a rebellion as a branded event. You filmed it, tagged it, gave them the metadata, and now every future uprising starts with your blueprint. You screamed no kings, but you never asked who was funding the crown.
Talk about it. Turn him up.
That was crazy.
All right.
Yeah,
So I gotta get everybody's take on that.
Lord, did they hit your old folks home and get everyone to do a No Kings protest or what?
No, dude, there were millions of people in Philadelphia that went. And so that was my thing, is if you look, the whole thing was that these protesters are rioters and they're starting fires, and there wasn't really a lot of that during that time. And so my personal opinion is I believe that there are at times agitators who come from maybe government entities, whether they're local or national, that incite some of these things. That's why you see bricks laying there near protests and different things like that. And so I noticed that there was none of that this time around. There wasn't for all that big talk of we're gonna really hurt protesters, we're gonna shoot them if they throw rocks at us, all that, we saw none of it. And so it was all very orderly. And so that tells me that, hey, there weren't agitators there, which makes me think, were there not agitators there on purpose? Was this really something to see how this would happen in real time and movement and to track that data? And so that's where I'm at. This is conspiracy theory lore. That's what this is. And so I really got to get you guys' take on that.
I'm happy to comment on it.
Go ahead. Yeah, doing that funded by a billionaire, that makes no sense. That's all I'm going to say. You're fighting for the Walmart lady and the billionaires that own these conglomerates that won't pay you minimum wage. But yeah, take it away, Evan.
He said he's not commenting.
I would go back to what it seems to me this creator's point is, and the broader topic about like Palantir tying both stories together. Palantir rebutted the claim that it shares or misuses people's data. And it seems like that is true, that they don't share your data. They don't surveil your data directly or sell it, but it does sound like they enable powerful surveillance capabilities that people should understand. They build auditable systems where data queries can be logged, where they can be reviewed. They configure access by agency, and they work within legal frameworks that their clients, the IRS, the US Army, enforce. So the issue for me isn't about who owns the data. It's what kind of society do we want to live in when data becomes interoperable at this scale? Palantir enables good things like coordinated emergency responses and fraud detection and battlefield awareness, but they also enable what I think is a chilling degree of surveillance, targeting, profiling. And generally speaking, I don't think people are aware enough about that or informed enough in how they respond.
I love that answer, bro.
Great. Well said.
For me, I'm more about, for me personally, as someone, as a citizen, I care more about my freedom than I do care about like money. Like I'll make the money back. That's just what it is. But I never feel like I'm going to get any of my freedoms back. And so I don't like living in a surveillance state. I don't like living in a police state. And I understand you're saying, hey, they're not going to sell your data. Well, guess what? At that point, you're not the customer. That's not your data. That's the data of whoever paid to have that done. That is now their data. And so you participating in that, you're being tracked and you're being watched. Now, we already know that through our cell phones, and we take social liberty knowing that and just kind of running with it. The other thing that I thought about was intriguing was the fact that they would use this data to predict the way that future protests and move. And that could go down to as small as figuring out what the typical profile of somebody who's going to protest is like. I mean, age, weight, size, clothing, you know what I mean? Those types of things. But also how they actually move and navigate during the moment. And it could be for something as simple and regular and peaceful as we saw on the supposed No Kings Day, which, by the way, where did that name come from? Who came up with the name No Kings, and how did it spread like wildfire? Fire. But that's neither here nor there. It's something that I think about, but it's just, what do you do when it was peaceful like it was this past weekend, and how will they react when violence hits and something happens, and how will that data affect the rest of the world when they're talking about those uprisings and protests and things that are happening like that?
People really do not realize that there's so much surveillance out there. I mean, we've seen it when the Tesla vandalizing thing was happening all over. It was like none of these people had even seen another video of someone vandalizing it. So it was like, who was doing? Because if you've seen the video, you would realize there's a camera on all of these Teslas. And then shortly after that, it seemed like a string of crimes that were maybe committed by a Tesla or whatever around a Tesla, where people were able to identify suspects based off of Tesla cameras that were just in the area. And it was just like, some of this stuff could be pulled, and some of the private citizens even have access to this stuff, obviously, because it's their cars and stuff. So they can just swoop and be a very helpful citizen and help out. But who's to say that was, it's not an anonymous pool too, like some of this stuff goes undetected.
Yeah, there's a lot of social engineering going on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But bullish on I mean, I personally have no investments in any of the defense companies, except through ETFs and indexes. But yeah, I mean, it is a bullish time for these. And if like overall, if Andorra IPOs, it's something everybody probably wants to try to jump in if you're going to swing trade or anything like that. Yeah,
I agree.
Close out defense.
I agree.
What you got for us, Laura?
I think we might have lost Laura. I said I think we might have lost Laura. Either he's got a real profound insight from what you just said, or he may be just catching up to us.
Love that about StreamYard. He's able to bounce back though. Yeah, even moving on though, there was a question earlier in regards to Robinhood, which makes me think about the recent Invest America proposition. Do you think crypto could ever make its way into the Invest America topic, or like where does that stand in your overall thesis of where like finances are going and like people are like putting their attention and money?
Will you read me into what you mean when you say Invest America? Because there are a couple of things that I recognize with that name. What do you mean?
So with Invest America, yeah, like the babies born from like this year for like the next 4 years will get like a funding from the government, put into an S&P, invested I mean over
locked for 18 years.
Yeah, locked for 18 years.
I haven't heard about this at all.
Yeah, he's trying to get a new baby boom. He's trying to get the baby boom of his presidency.
Is it like a significant amount of money? Like are we what kind of funding?
I mean, it's gonna be pennies compared to what they pay in like Social Security and stuff. And I think it's just a test off because it's like our Social Securities are invested in treasuries right now or short term, just like basically stuff that does not generate too much income. And this does multiple things. This obviously gives a direct investment into like the US economy and gives people an incentive to be like, I own a piece of the good that is coming out of America's prosperity. And so this Invest America basically would just be these accounts set up for them. And I would imagine they're going to be controlled by guys at Chase. I think Robinhood was there as well. A few other banks. And it's an idea that they're shooting around where I would assume that these kids and maybe even more future generations, if it goes well, would have a direct benefit to America instead of watching the sideline and just hearing about how America is doing well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course it makes sense. And how is Robinhood involved?
So Vlad ended up showing up to the White House meeting for that. And there was like a big old, how they do their photo ops and stuff. And
Sean was there as well.
Yeah. And I guess what Vlad actually ended up chipping in a simulation that gets you, it's literally used like a million times a day on the app. But it basically would just shows compounding to the average person on like if you put something in over a period of time, how much money you can have with even with a bearish view on S&P 500 over the next 30 years, you could still make money that people didn't know about. And I think this simulation that he built, it's part of the product that already exists on the platform called Strategy, and which is like the basically advisement account for Robinhood. And they're able to he was able to put out a nice little American flag, eagle, all the good 9 in the simulation so that, and it was like signed by Donald Trump, the protocol or whatever he was making. He signed it by Donald Trump, and it just seemed like something he was really trying to sell. So with that even being said, though, it's like if we're investing in the S&P 500, they got to put something in crypto, right? Like that has to happen. There's no way you just get a lick of the top 500 companies and you don't touch DeFi.
Yeah, we can't have a crypto czar and no investment in crypto. We got it.
Yeah. And is Robinhood custodying the funds in any way?
That's the thing. It's a good question. You know what? I think they're not even along that far enough to even decide that. But because Robinhood is setting themselves up for that wealth transfer over the next whatever so years, it's becoming like when you talk about it, it kind of reinforces itself. So they've always positioned themselves for this wealth transfer and to be like the brokerage for the younger generation. So I personally, I think it's perfect fit. But you really never know. The account sizes that would come into Robinhood would just be insane, though. So
that makes sense, though. They've been speaking about rolling out 529s and more life planning for millennials and the next generation. So that would be
What happened to you, Laura? You ended up we lost you for a second.
You did. There was a technical issue around here. I don't know what it was, but we're back, so that's great.
Glad you're back.
Well, this hour flew by.
Yeah, this hour did fly by. I hope we got to. Let me see what his actual question was about Robinhood. What do you think of all the recent price action on Robinhood? Or do you follow Robinhood stock, Evan?
I don't follow any stock too terribly closely, but I do follow news around Robinhood, especially because of the way that they're competing with our space. I think they've been playing really smartly lately, positioning themselves in close proximity to the president. Vlad has been doing big time press tours. He's been on a lot of podcasts, and they've been rolling out a lot of crypto products because as legislation comes, they want to get a piece of that pie. I think their competition is Coinbase, and by some accounts, they're neck and neck. Robinhood has more users. Coinbase has more crypto users, but that could change. And it's still anybody's competition.
Do you think them getting the S&P inclusion first does anything for them in this space? I mean, do you think that changes anything, or?
I don't know that it changes anything. I think Brian Armstrong is definitely watching it very closely, probably, but I don't know that it makes them like a sure winner, especially because think about the other side of the coin. Coinbase is the largest custodian of Bitcoin in the world. Most of the ETFs, their Bitcoin that they hold for clients is in accounts that Coinbase owns, that they trust Coinbase to hold.
They custody it. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I don't know, when you look at the crypto side, the crypto market is smaller than the stock market, but in terms of how many tokens Coinbase offers versus how many Robinhood offers, in terms of how many other kinds of products they have, not just like wallets, but also their institutional products. And they've got a whole layer 2 blockchain network. Robinhood is still custodial. They've got the Robinhood DeFi wallet, but there's really no like wallet native DeFi support at scale yet. So it's very interesting. Plus, Robinhood is very US centric. They're expanding into Canada. They've got some inroads to the UK and to EU, but Coinbase is active, I think, in over 100 countries, especially the European Union, LATAM, and Africa. So it's a very competitive race on a lot of fronts, and they're both at the White House together. So we'll see.
Love that take.
Laura, you're muted. My God.
Sorry about that. Yeah, man. I mean, I think dude, I'm looking forward to see what happens next. That's why I like following this stuff. We're gonna find out, who's gonna adopt what, and take from there. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap anything up, man? Because it has been the hour. I want to make sure that
I'm gonna go ahead and save my questions for not NFT NYC. I have a lot of obviously stablecoin questions and stuff. But they check out their show. Definitely tune in to what they got going on. I've tuned in a few times. Obviously there's just sometimes you just try to tune in to be like, you know what, I'm gonna come in and support real quick, and then you stay because you start captivated. Yeah, you start hearing real value, and you're like, you know what, this is exactly where I want to be spending my time. So I feel like that's a good way to like usher the show, because a lot of people still need to be walked through this. It's still like not known to everybody on like what exactly is going on in crypto. So it's good to have shows like that break down what we got going. So,
and likewise, thank you guys for being a helpful voice and telling a better story. It's awesome to be here. I really appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
Your panel, you're in Eddie's panel. That's going to be a really good time. I can't wait for that. This is a great conversation, and yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend.
Hell yeah. Evan will be a speaker at Not NFT NYC. Make sure you check out his show. Evan, any parting words from you before we go?
Just that whether you are an investor, you work in the space, you're just curious about how Bitcoin works, the most important thing anybody interested in crypto can do right now is to tell a better story. You're telling a story with everything you say, everything you don't say, everything you choose to amplify or ignore, and telling a better story, it's up to all of us. So good luck.
Hey. I love that. Telling a better story is up to all of us. That's a banger. You got to clip that, Laura.
Hell yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been All of Us Radio, not financial advice. Hey, man, you can check us out. The live show happening next Thursday in Manhattan, buddy. It's going to happen at the Producers Club. We got tons of activations starting at like about noon, ending at 8. So you can go to all the after parties after that. We're going to have a ton of speakers. Evan is going to be one of our speakers. We'll be talking stablecoins, AI. There's going to be a speakeasy, DJ, bar, We couldn't have it all there. A comedy show. Joe List is coming tonight at FTNYC, baby. Cannot wait for it. Until then, have fun, be safe, buy stocks. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. And then it just takes